Lakes, amenities, and events.
I'm just going to go on record, I am not even the interim chair of this, so I'll give the report though. Since the Lakes and Beaches chair resigned, Nick and I had a phone conversation with the vendor, Aqua Control, or Aqua Services, and he has been notifying us and communicating with us, but the lake treatment was done on schedule. There's a weed in the lake called naiad, which is stubborn as can be, so we've got some new chemicals on the way. The next lake treatment is the 21st of June. From that, as Tim had mentioned in the past, one of the issues we're battling is the company we used last year no-showed in critical times of the season, and we got the issue from last year rolling over to this year. This year, the lake temperature wasn't warm enough until the end of April to do a lake treatment. So it is working its way better on it. And I took my boat out all around Autumn Lake. I don't have a trailer, so I'm sorry I can't put it in the other lakes. But I went around Autumn Lake, and some of the coves are cleared up fairly well. Others still have naiad in it. And just so everybody knows, when naiad plant dies, it breaks off and it comes up to the surface, and you got this lime-colored green goat floating on the surface. And until it dries out and sinks, or until it runs itself along shore, it floats out on the lake. That's the process of that plant dying. So we'll see after June 21st if this new chemical shows any difference for the lakes. The other thing I will share is we do have his report from his visit and tour that Nick and I requested of Spring Lake. However, hopefully after tonight, we are going to have a new chair of Lakes and Beaches, and then that person will pick that process up and decide where we go from there. I don't think there's anything else at this point.
All right, thanks, interim chair.
No.
All
Maintenance.
right, so this is a synopsis given to you by Tom. We dug out a sinkhole at West Vista, made repairs and backfilled. We'll asphalt over the fill when it's settled. Trying to keep up with grass, shrubs, trees, and weeds. Responded to the storm damage, washouts, trees down, block culverts, etc. Responded to a bunch of work orders. Made repairs to mowers and vehicles as needed. Added loads of sand to the beach and spread. Reinstalled the gate and replaced arms multiple times and made reports. Reset swim rope using new anchors with volunteers. There's an open position on the maintenance crew due to resignation, and ad has been placed on the leader. And if anyone has areas they see need attention, please fill out a work order and we will assess what can be done. Thanks, Tom.
All right, roads.
We are still waiting on a report coming back from Vernon Jones, the person we had talked to, Zane. Once we get that report, he's going to try to give us the worst case scenario areas. I know that John's got a whole list of them, but he's going to kind of take us through an overall. John and I had kind of come up with priority sections, around the big lake and some of the main arteries, and then the second tier arteries, which would have connected those two. We kind of told him to go through there, see what you think, because there's a lot of different things that happen, is the quality of the asphalt and the quality of the base. So the asphalt might be all right, and the base might be good, but if the base is shot, usually the asphalt's shot. So we want to try to get a report on where we can go and just replace the asphalt, and then a report on, because the asphalt's bad, the base is probably bad, and we need to tear the entire road up and redo it. So once we get that back from Vernon Jones, we can kind of go through and figure out what we want to do with this year's budget. I know we got a couple major safety problem areas that we need to get addressed. So we'll kind of get that scheduled and squared away, but kind of in a holding pattern until we get back with Vernon Jones.
Excuse me, I heard just the big lake. with roads?
Oh, that was just generalization. There's a whole map we can share with everybody, but and we did the big lake, the small lake, around the little lakes, and then we did like a ridgecrest plantation.
We did all the main feeder arteries.
Yeah.
So in every, if you look at the map of Raintree, in every section, the main road and the arteries, main arteries to it are what they're doing an inspection of, but what he's going to do is based upon, you know, what he sees that this can be asphalt replaced, this can be patched and sealed, this can be, as a whole new road. For the time being, we're just going to extrapolate that out to the whole 39 miles of roads.
Okay, so it's all of Raintree, it's not just.
Correct. Yep.
It's a generalization of all Raintree, but we gave them
That
specific.
would be Raintree, not Autumn Lake. That's what you said, so, to say.
Yeah, it's definitely the entire subdivision.
Okay.
No. Desiree rules, thanks Nick.
Yep.
Alrighty, so there were 2 complaints of a car parked on a front lawn. How's this written? All kinds of funky weird. There's a complaint of a dog walked off a leash. The gate was down 7 times. One person was tailgated in. And then there's a matter of all the stickers. So there were 11 expired stickers over the past month that were different colors other than orange or purple. There were 31 expired hang tags that were parked up at the beach. There was 12 people who taped their purple stickers, and altogether, or there were 6 orange expired golf cart stickers as well. So altogether, there were 60 parking violations up at the beach and everything. And something was brought up to me about wanting to see more or less what the censurable price was altogether. And for all of those parking ones at 25 a censure, it would have amounted to like $1,500 if we were able to find out who everybody was that was censurable. Unfortunately, that's not the case because we don't have everybody's license plates, and some of the golf cart sticker, or not the golf cart stickers, but the hang tags were not even in our system, which is fantastic, let me tell you. But yeah, that's it.
I will add a couple things to that. I got called on a weekend about 2 violations up at the pavilion parking lot on each side of it. And the one lady called me that
Oh, yes, I heard about that.
we booted her car, her daughter's car, and she knew she needed a sticker, but she didn't have time to get it or something, and I don't know, I went up there to talk to them, and she was not there anymore. If she was in the beginning, I don't know. The girls that were there, neither were her daughter, and they were friends of hers, and the vehicle was not her daughter's, it was this girl that doesn't even live here's father. So I apologized to him. I said, you know, I'm sorry, but you basically just incriminated yourself. And she said, I don't have cash on me, so I negotiated a cash deal, credit card deal in the parking lot there, and the driver took it, but he was reluctant because then you can put a stop payment on it and it gets ugly. The other deal was what's said to be a property owner. He gave me his business card. He said he owns all the houses on the lake. I thought he was going to be here tonight, but I don't see him because I would like to address that.
Owns all the houses?
That's what he told me. I couldn't find one house he even owns in here.
See, I thought, I didn't know.
So do you own a house
You're allowed
now?
renting.
Unless he's the bank. So all I can say to people is, if you're gonna park anywhere, please make sure you understand the rules. And it's easier to tell the truth and make up all these stories because it's never gonna end well. And I felt bad for the girls because they probably didn't have a clue. But it was out of my control at that point. Sherry did a great job. She stayed cool and calm, and it got a little heated with the guy that owns all the houses in here with the tow truck driver, but
Say, wasn't the lady the one that said that the office told her she didn't need any kind of identification?
Yeah, I think she blamed it on Wendy, and I said, yeah, I know, we get that a lot. I explained to her, I go, as far as I can tell, they would have never told you that, and I defended you, Wendy, so.
The positive thing about all this is that that information is definitely going to start making its way out of the
Right.
subdivision. It's going to prevent a lot of people from coming in here, which is the original intent, to make sure that there's enough room and space for all the new property owners and all the property owners to actually enjoy our amenities.
So I guess the point I am trying to make is just anybody that's here, anybody, which probably not anybody here, but anybody that's here or listening, if you see somebody, just tell them to read the rules and make sure they understand them. 'Cause, I mean, some of these stories are so crazy, I don't even know if I'm telling them the truth anymore, but but good work on that, Desiree, and I know it's frustrating, but nice work.
I just don't know where they thought it was a good idea to tape their sticker to the windshield. But their orange one is firmly affixed to the driver's side still.
Well, it's in case you want to use a different vehicle.
Well, the lady that called me, I thought it was funny. Now, I don't know how true it was, if she was even down there, but the girl just said, well, she's not here. She had to go get our 4-year-old son or daughter or something. I'm like, so she was here without her 4-year-old son with illegal plates? It was your friend's father's truck or whatever? I don't know, but it was kind of comical. All right, that is rules and security. So Adam is not here. I wanted to say this earlier, but I ask everybody to keep him and his family in their prayers. He has a youngest son that has been challenged from birth and had a very, very serious brain surgery about 3 weeks ago. He came home for 2-3 days, went back because he caught COVID and thrush, and poor guy's not eating. He's got on a feeding tube. His wife has been up at the hospital nonstop other than 3 days for about the last month, so prayers to him and his family for that. In lieu of all that, he was able to get me this Watchtower security document that I sent you guys an email, but I know it was late, so you probably didn't get a chance to read it, and the print is like, I need a magnifying lens, so I think I'm gonna table this to next month just because we got so much else going on. Yeah. It needs to be a lot bigger than for me, but we did have a meeting with this company. It was a good meeting, and we got a bid back from them. And on the 5-year plan, I could possibly say it could be in budget. Probably not right this minute, but, and I think it's things we need to discuss. We haven't negotiated anything with them.
Was this remote access to us? Is that the one?
It's basically gate security that is monitored 24/7. The one thing that I think that to save some money, I think there was like 17 cameras involved in this or something, and I don't, how many? 13. So I don't know if we need to go that extreme, but it definitely seems like this company knows what they're talking about. But I am gonna table this till next month and we'll dig into it a little more. Hopefully Adam can be here.
Hey Dave, we don't have to make the decision of this. Can you share the price of this? Because
Yeah.
we got a button ballot items up, and the security ballot item was tabled last month for the price of this.
So let me just, real quick, I'll go over this. Where is
Just
it?
go over it.
So overall, the 20,000 foot view is there's general surveillance, license plate reader cameras, in-between cameras, existing cameras, and interior cameras. There's 13 of them placed around the subdivision, at the gates, at the office, the lakes, the ramps, the beaches, whatnot. I think they're all over the place in here, and they gave us a map of where they're all located. If we did a 1-year contract, it's $28.08 a month for the first year. $2,808 per month for the first year. It's not auto-renewing, I don't think, or was it? Irrelevant, it may or may not be.
And have an option to renew.
Yeah. A 3-year contract was $2,392 per month for the first 3 years. At the end of year 1, 2, or 3, client has the option to extend out to the 5-year term and receive the associated rate. The 5-year contract was $2,080 a month for 5 years. The 5-year rate saves $8,736 per year over the 1-year agreement. There is also a prepayment option with discount incentives. So that's just something to consider. We have spent thousands of dollars for security. They technically own all the cameras, they own all the equipment, so if something goes bad, they replace it. We don't buy new stuff. They handle the labor, they handle the parts. All we do is have to pay them this monthly fee if there's an issue. They don't have the ability to look up a license plate unless it's in their database, similar to like what you were talking about with the Rever. So that might be something, when that happens, we can forward that information to them. But once they call it forensic monitoring. If they have the license plate, they will verify that with us. If they don't, then they don't look it up or pay for any service to look up license plates or anything like that.
Didn't they say they would file the police reports for?
Yes, they do work with the local police department and whatnot, but they do have limitations on how far they can go because of it being personal property and whatnot. Seems like a decent company. We met with them. There was a sales guy on the call. There was a couple technical people on the call. I forget who was on. I know John, you were on it. Were you on that, Deb?
That was you, Adam, and I.
Okay. So, and Adam seems to know, he actually worked with them on a job he was doing for his business, so that's how he found out about them. So, food.
And public budgeting.
Yeah. All right, that's all for the committee reports, unfinished business. I will move into, are we going in order, John? Nick, Desiree, we all want to do the ballot items first, or?
Doesn't matter.
I don't care.
Let's do the other ones first, and hopefully we'll be quick.
All right, events and adventures, no charge with use of the campground pavilion.
They have the family luau coming up, and on it, so
And they had already reserved it months ago, so we wouldn't be booting anybody who already,
right. Well, part of it's well, that's another story. But there are some groups out here that have the use of the Raintree amenities that they're not paying for.
Can you talk a little bit louder?
I'll try.
Thank you.
There are groups out here that have the use of Raintree amenities that do not pay for that. The groups are for the benefit of Raintree. Some are formal as the HOA, some are not formal. So this came up with Keith before he left, so we're just trying to close up this stuff. So we had talked about this before, a long time ago, but should Raintree Events and Adventures for the community events be able to use the amenities without charge? So for this luau coming up, the campground, you know, Wendy, what's the charge to rent a whole campground for a day?
$15.
$15.
Per site.
And there's how many sites?
Well,
12, so it's
it's actually the
$180
family day.
on it. So we want to go back to this and finish it. So I want to make a motion that if an organization in here needs to use the amenities of Raintree for a community benefit event, that they can use the amenities without charge. However, they need to do the event form first, so we know what's going on and what it is we're looking at. And I think we already had said earlier, it's limited to 2 per year.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? So I will say, my discussion, which was brought up to me, and I didn't even know this myself, that this was being compared to the HOA, which I agree, the HOA gets to use the pavilion free of charge. But it was brought to my attention that the HOA paid for and built the pavilion and the barbecue pit, or the smoker, whatever it's called. So Not that we owe them any extra benefits, but I think that probably had a lot to do with them not paying for any rentals. And I know there was questions of if ones pay, the others pay, or if ones don't pay, the others don't pay. I would say, I kind of feel like, and we could get legal representation on this if we need to, that the HOA is kind of in a different ballpark as far as when it comes to paying for or renting things. And that's my 2 cents. I didn't know that. I just found that out today. I had no idea, but they have been around for a while, and they built the pavilion and the barbecue pit, so.
Is the HOA events, are they, everyone welcome?
Yes.
So it's just,
Well, homeowners.
Paid
Members.
membership.
No, you can,
Some of them.
You have to have a foundation.
it depends on their
Some of them.
Yeah, they
attendance.
opened, I thought they opened it up to lot owners a few years ago too, but,
But it's a private organization that we pay dues for
Yes.
to belong
Right.
you
to.
pay dues for it.
you pay a whole whopping $30, maybe 35 a year, you
$35.
can get a newsletter
But
every
depending on
month.
the event, they're asking you to chip in more.
So the question would be that, technically speaking, if Raintree Events and Ventures had a subscription service similar to the HOA, where they were actually benefiting from using our, would that change whether or not they needed to pay for it? I think that's what the original question started from. After Witches Night Out, we had the discussion of if they're going to be benefiting monetarily from using our amenities. And not that it doesn't benefit, it could benefit everybody, but it, by definition, 80-20 rule right there, that 20% of the people could possibly be inconvenienced by the added people. They may not want to go to the event, but it still will. So the question would be,
I don't know, my point is that, I don't have a dog in this fight one way or the
Me
other.
either,
But
yeah.
we need consistency. There's a group that uses this office every week on Monday. They're not paying anything for it. There's a library in here that is for the benefit of the community. Nobody's doing it, so they're not paying anything. So if things are happening for the benefit of the community, I think it's great for our community. Let them happen, and, they're not taking, this stuff every single day. They're doing it at times, so.
We're just
like,
whistling
it's
a different
100,
tune since the last
it's
time we
100
talked about this.
It's $160. What?
I said, this is just a different discussion that we had when
Yeah.
after Witches Night
Yeah,
Out.
right.
Well, the difference though, John, is we don't rent out that office, and we don't rent out the library. We do rent out the pavilion, and we do rent out the campgrounds. And I don't have a dog in this fight either. I'm just stating the obvious
There's
here.
going to be the criteria, what's the benefit? What's the criteria? What's the criteria of one group of people versus another group?
Well, there's different criteria for each event, but like on Witches Night Out, because it was so late in the game, we allowed them to use the campgrounds free of charge, which benefited numerous vendors down there. So when it was discussed and people came to us and said things, and amongst the board we talked about it, why should the POA take the hit when vendors are out there making money?
Isn't it the same argument that you made over the HOA?
Well,
They're taking subscription fees and people are paying for it, and then you're going to if we didn't build it and buy it or whatever.
well, it's
Same
definitely a
argument.
not-for-profit organization, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's not like, I think their annual budget is a couple $1,000s, but that being said, they take a subscription, they provide certain things, Christmas parties, they do wineries, that you also have to, like Desiree said, pay extra for.
And the Easter egg hunt, which everybody gets to bring their kids to and nobody pays for it all, and
I think a good chunk of it was the fact that the HOA was doing more adult events than more family-friendly ones. That was one of the biggest arguments that I heard against it.
Well, they have the Sienna
yeah,
breakfast, they have Sienna breakfast, they have the Easter egg hunt,
and this picnic coming up this weekend, this
and the
family.
picnic is family night.
I don't really
When you
care.
pay extra money, I mean, you're paying
Hang on,
extra
folks,
for it,
please.
It's because they're buying food, so they're covering their costs. It's
Right.
not like they're getting benefit for it.
No, I'm not saying that they are benefiting from it.
Yeah, I don't find an issue with letting them use it. It's
Only
just
Ann
different.
benefited from any of this stuff other than the vendors. They
Right.
Raintree Events and Adventures post online there, you know, what, if there's any, you know, financials for the event, what they are. You know, this is not letting the vendors all walk in here again, you
But
know.
doesn't the HOA go to the country club most of the time for their events? I mean, this is the first time that I've been to an event that is outside of the country club.
And this is not a battle.
I was gonna say, I think it's just a matter of
The HOA or
not
anything
comparing
like
the
that.
two.
It's just that there are groups here, for whatever reason, that they are using amenities, they're not paying, and now this new group that, you know, hey, every event they've done so far has been highly successful, is, Keith brought this up before he left, they're being charged for the campground for the family day luau. So, you know, they're not looking to make any money off of that based on, you know, what they've shared with me so far. And on it is, can we just be consistent that twice a year, they get to use the, you know, the campground or the pavilion without charge for it?
I'm good with that.
I am too. If you're gonna limit it
Is
to,
it gonna be just them, or will there be other groups within Raintree that will be able to ask them to do that as well?
I mean, I think they're gonna have to fill out their event forms, and we're gonna have to see, you know, what it is they're trying to do. You know, I mean, if they don't think it's a benefit to the community, you know, I mean, if somebody
Yeah, I
wants to go
can
down
comment.
there and spend, you know, and try to raise money for something that's not related to the community, then when the event form comes in, we can say no.
Well, one of the things, and I shared it with you guys, it was brought to my attention, somebody that was formerly with the HOA and I think a previous president, that I agree that charging them is probably not the best solution, but if they can get it 2 days a year, and then another group comes in with 5 or 10 people and says, well, we want to do it free for 2 days a year, by the end of the summer, we could be at 10 or 15 groups that want to have a birthday party down there technically.
Well,
So-
I think that goes back to, we had put in place after Witches Night Out, the event form. We review the event form before anything happens, and if somebody's trying to get it for free for a birthday party, you
Well,
know,
and
that's
isn't-
not, that doesn't qualify as a community.
Raintree and Events and Adventures is a
Okay.
sanctioned committee
Not really.
of some sort. in the
It's
PO.
not POA sanctioned. I'm just throwing these ideas.
I mean, as long as they're filling out the form, giving it to us well within enough time and in advance, I mean, that gives us an opportunity to go through it and make sure that it's something that's gonna be big enough and
the community.
benefiting enough, can't think of the word.
Yeah.
Something that's gonna benefit everybody. I mean, I don't see an issue with it.
Let me get a couple responses. Jerry, you wanted to say something?
Yes, number one, I would like to ask Nick and Dave to remember a meeting that we had where it was stated that that was one of the things that was going to happen, that we wouldn't have to pay. I have the records at home if you'd like to.
I don't think we said, we actually, I had
On those
mentioned,
two events.
well, that was, we did have a meeting, yes, I remember. I don't know if Nick remembers it. I'm sure he does. He's got better memory than I do.
Okay, number two, it's because it was for the community, okay? It was a community affair. That's why it was agreed by you guys, because it was for the community, to gather the community and try to get the community to come together.
I don't think we discussed paying for
Yeah, I remember,
then-
reserving it.
Yeah, and then with the HOA, I mean, the events and adventures, they don't charge anybody for anything. The HOA, you pay a fee, which the HOA's always charged a fee, but that helps them to help offset stuff that they do and offset, you know, things, supplies and stuff like that. Eventually, I think it's going to happen with that group. where they're gonna have to start asking them to pay. They can't keep going like they're going with nothing. Because if you're gonna be doing stuff, you're gonna have to ask people to pay. But I think that if it's being done for the community, I feel that the board should agree to let them have that as long as it's not interfering with anybody else that wants it at that time. You know, you should prove to them to have it at that time. I know the Witches' Night Out is after, I believe the Witches' Night Out, when they have that, is done after, isn't that after
This is an open forum.
after the October? Is it, okay, but the thing is, I can't see it where people are gonna come in and say, well, you know, they don't pay for it, so I want to have a party up here, so I don't want to pay for it. But this is for the whole community that they're doing.
All right, point taken, Jerry, I appreciate it. I will state one thing, that meeting I did discuss, there was no definite state of whether we would charge or wouldn't charge. I had mentioned that every one of these vendors, because I am one of those vendors out in the world as well, pay significantly more than what they were charged. Betsy, you wanted to say something real quick?
Yes. I would just, as a member of the HOA, I'd just like to say that the HOA charges a membership fee so that we can put on events. We pay for the country club for every event we host them. We pay for buses that we have to have. This Events and Adventures group is having a hard time because they don't have any money to pay for everything. They have to charge for everything they get. And people aren't willing to pay that, so they've had to cancel trips. Now, it's my opinion as an HOA member that we do take in dues. We could easily pay $50 to rent the pavilion for 2 events a year. That's about what we use it for. And I don't think it would be any big thing off of our backs. But when we have our events, we raise money for the food pantry, and all of our money goes to the food pantry. So it's not like we're putting this in our pocket. It's nonprofit, and we filed the paperwork and done that. We have bylaws that are written. I guess I'm a little defensive because everybody says we're just for old people, and we're mean because we charge money. I'm kind of tired of that. We'd like to do it for everybody. We'd love to have families come to some of our things, but it just hasn't been that anybody will show up and actually come.
Whoa, I'll show up. I like you old people.
All right, folks, we gotta move on. Thanks, Betsy. I will say that my daughter made reference to an old waitress the other day that was 55, and I like about cringed at the table.
Well,
Linda, I'll let you
just
speak and
want
open.
you to know, we could pay for it if that's what you decide.
I was just going to say, I didn't fully hear your motion, I would like to hear that again. And, because I thought I also heard you say, you know, different organizations, you know, and I think the word criteria, and Dave hit on it, consistency. So I just want to make sure you all are like understanding what you're saying yea or nay to in this motion that you said. Thank you.
The motion is that Raintree Events and Adventures can use the campground/pavilion up to 2 times a year at no charge.
As long as they
As
turn
long
in.
as they turn in the events form before anything is communicated on it, and we can review the events form and give our blessing, ask her questions. You know, we're not trying to stop anything, but, you know, if somebody comes forward later on and says, I want to do a birthday party down there, that's not a community event, so.
My only
But no
contention
other-
with the whole thing is, this is different than what we talked about during Witches' Night Out, and I don't think anything's changed. So that was the only thing I wanted to make abundantly clear. I think I was for this with Witches' Night Out, but we were discussing it, charging them for it from the beginning. So I mean, I'm glad we're coming around the table here to change it, but we should have done this from the beginning.
So is that include Witches Night Out or just 2 events a year?
The two events, as I'm aware of them, are the Family Day Luau and the Witches Night Out.
Well, you mentioned pavilion, didn't you? Is this the campground and the pavilion? Okay.
And, Deb, you mentioned the parking. The Family Day Luau is going to be a parking related issue. So we've been talking about the one for the HOA Family Day.
Yeah, but if you have the entire RV area, you can make parking down there.
Right.
That's why I brought up the Witches Night Out parking too.
Yeah, the Witches Night Out was easier because it's the beginning of October. Everything's.
No, I just meant event wise.
Right, I mean, the beach was pretty well done. It was pretty cold down there. From that, it was at night too, so, but I think we may end up with parking, we will have parking issues with the luau. We're trying to come up with something for the, HOA.
But if we allow, so we think that the luau is gonna be, what time, well, I guess we'll talk about that later. Doesn't have to be right now. We had open motion.
Well, it kind of goes in line with that, but
So parking wise, there needs to be clear, distinct,
But you
where
can't
they
shut,
can park, where they can't park.
but you can't shut down the entire beach for an event. If they bring
We
it.
were only talking about the not beach side. We were talking about letting people park in the pavilion. And we don't know how many people will show up for the HOA, but I've been to those HOA picnics where they fill 4 or 5 tables of those long tables of people.
I wasn't too worried much about the HOA one. It's the other one I was more worried about.
The luau.
Well, the HOA one is this weekend, so that's why we're trying to get that.
any other discussion? Okay, we've heard your motion twice, so it's for the campgrounds and the pavilion free of charge up to twice a year. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, censures, Desiree.
So all of you should have a packet. Like I told you guys this morning, I, on Thursday, went through with my committee for 4 hours, going through almost each section. I think aside from ACC and fishing, we went through every section and went through what we decided was considered safety and destruction, more or less, and what the most common censures are that I get across the board throughout since I've been on the board, which I chose to keep as censure first, and then we would do the certified letter for everything else. So what I have printed out, what you guys have in front of you, is what I chose to keep to be censure first, not certified letter. And it goes by section from, in the rules manual. If there are any typos, let's just not look at those.
Desiree, which one gets a certified letter? Those are all the rules you could ever break.
No, they're literally all safety
There's about
concerns.
42 other pages.
Is it really?
There's actually 21 other pages.
I take double side credit.
So everything else will get certified lettered, but these were the most important ones, I felt like. So, well, that my committee felt like. And we even had some people there that weren't even on the committee that put their 2 cents in.
This is just going in the rules manual, and the rules committee approved all these, right?
Absolutely. For 4 nice long hours. We were tired and we started babbling at the end.
I think we do. We have to approve. The motions, they bring their rules, suggestions.
All right,
to
you
us.
want to make a motion to approve these new first offense censures?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve all of the censure first sections, rules, for the rules manual to be rewritten. And I get a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion?